Hey guys, welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, starring, eventually, Ramon. He's in a van. He's trying to hook up somewhere after driving his children on assignment. He's nothing if not a responsible dad. We obviously have a lot to talk about today, he and I, once he gets on board, and that includes all of you as well. We have a ton of people in here already. I see it counted around 370. Almost everyone appears to be in a really rotten mood, which is just about right. That's befitting what happened yesterday up in Cleveland. I got back overnight, and honestly, I was still shaking my head over the whole 2.5-hour drive. I don't know that I've covered an event quite like that in terms of almost everything going wrong, but also just having the feeling that things are coming apart, not necessarily even the way you think. There's going to be a lot of attention, and there already has been, to Najee Harris's comments, and that's appropriate. He's a loud voice in that room, and he had a lot to say. But at the same time, to me, it was way, way, way more significant the way the head coach conducted himself at the press conference. And now I'm looking, and I do see Ramon. So watch this. Watch this magic happen right in front of you. Look at that. Look at that. There he is.
I'm here. I'm here. Yes, I got you clear. You sound clear. Way clearer than me.
Okay, see if you can turn your volume up there a little bit on your end.
My volume. All right, give me 1 second. It's up. Can you not hear me clear enough?
Yeah, she says, the boss says good. Okay, yeah, and then lower the camera a little bit, and then all right, now we're going. What's going on, Moan?
Losing right now, DK, but not in a bad spot. Let's say that. Okay.
Okay. It's been a 24 hours for this football team. That's for sure.
It has,
Moan, and that's I was just leading with is that for Najee Harris to make the remarks that he did is one thing, but as I just started telling everybody, it's another thing for your head coach to carry himself the way he did in that press conference. It was almost a little bit creepy, like nonchalant, like it wasn't any big deal losing this game. And I don't know who that guy was.
Maybe it's because he's got his hands tied a little bit. The decision that everybody wanted made as far as letting Matt Canada go can't be made, or if you do make it, it sends a signal that this is it. We're just surviving instead of thriving right now. And I don't know if there is much difference between one and the other. Just being honest with you right now, Coach Tomlin just being somewhat somber when it comes down to him talking to the media after a loss like that. The other side of it is this: they are still in the hunt. I think they still somewhat clinch a playoff position in the spot that they're in right now, DK, right? Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, they're right there.
They're right there. So with that being said, it is just that. The answers that this team need is in-house. I don't think it's out on the street with what we're expecting to happen. Like, again, if there was something that was going to happen, it was supposed to be changing of the offensive coordinator. And I think hearing what Najee had to say after the game, and here's the thing about Najee speaking to, before we go back to Coach Tomlin, since the day he came in this world of transitioning out of the last era, before 2020, right? End of 2021 was being last year. They gave Najee the keys to the offense. They paired him with Cam. They made him the forefront of what the offensive mindset is. They gave him the ability to speak and say what he wants to while also showing his work on the field, right? All of that happened. So the fact that this offensive leader and Najee Harris is speaking out the way he did says it's not just him. It's a lot of everybody else that feels the same way that he does too. He just finally hit his breaking point. Now, whether that was because of the way Jaylen Warren performed or just in general, you need to be able to craft plays that work for everybody, even if Najee run style is different. Again, the stuff that we had set up for Le'Veon was just a little bit different than what it was for D'Angelo. That's just one of his backup running backs, right? It was different from Fitzgerald Toussaint. It was different from all of those guys. Now, where is the level of just understanding, DK, right? When it comes down to crafting it. I love Najee's comments. You speaking of Coach Tomlin, I'm going to listen to more of what you have to say, but him not having a whole lot of answers, tell you that he's probably handcuffed more often than not right now. And truthfully, a lot of people are going to say, well, Coach, that's on you. And that's fair too, DK, because the change could have been made.
I'm going to assume you don't have a bell in that van, so we're just going to get the show officially started, right?
Let's do it. That was a good open right there, man. I don't have it on.
All right. Just for some background for anybody who either didn't see that, because way more people see the game than would see a post-game press conference. And when Mike Tomlin came in, you could just get the sense right away, because when he comes in after a loss, there's almost invariably there's this stomp to his demeanor, and he'll come in and everything sounds really quick and authoritative. That wasn't in play at all. He came in and he praised the Browns and he praised their fans. He referred multiple times to the environment or the venue affecting Kenny Pickett and the offense. And I'm going, the environment, the venue, you mean the same one in which the Steelers didn't lose a bleeping game for 20 years? That venue? How is that all of a sudden a factor?
You know why? DK? And here's where the frustration. I saw somebody say a second ago, Cam's body language, showed a whole lot. And I'm sure it wasn't him. You know what happened on Sunday, DK? Pittsburgh got beat the way Pittsburgh beat other teams. A third-string quarterback.
That's so good.
Monstrous defenses, right? Ability to control the line of scrimmage. And can't stop the rush. Think about it. Pittsburgh got beat at its own game for once this year, DK, like by your divisional foe. Now, that's not to say that you're losing grips on your race within the AFC North, but to lose in that fashion, DK, that was the one thing. I knew it would be a tight game because offensively, we can't get a lot going, can we? We just can't. Defensively, they're gonna get gnawed off. Like, it's like chopping wood the way you got to approach our defense. If you can stay in the game long enough and not let them make enough X plays on you defensively, then guess what, DK? You can beat the Steelers. And that's what happened this past weekend. It's the idea that they stayed out there long enough to create enough plays, and that defense at the end of the game, DK, was tapped out. So if you saw Cam walking off, and you saw that this group is in a position to where they don't seem confident, it looked like it was a bad loss. You're still 6-4 on the season. It's not like the season is over, right? You're not below 500 for whatever that's worth right now. But Pittsburgh got beat in the way that it usually beats other teams. And that's where it probably just kind of hits you to where your franchise quarterback was there, DK. Y'all feel me? It wasn't like your guy wasn't behind center. Kenny Pickett was taking snaps. You had your starting running backs, both of them. You had all your health on that side of the ball, and you still lost. And what's crazy, it's not like you got blown out. You lost by 3 points at the end of the game. That's what got you. That's why this sucks right here.
There were a lot of bad body language looks last night, even from players you don't expect it from. TJ Watt he played all but 2 snaps, Robert. Don't read anything into it. Oh, yeah. 73 out of 75. So don't read anything into it. I spoke with TJ after the game. He's just tired. Okay, you have to understand the percentage, tell him, Moan, at which he operates.
TJ runs hot. He runs hot. And it's not like he's Alex Highsmith size. TJ might be pushing 235, 240. I think Alex Highsmith may be 250.
250. Yeah.
250. That 10 pounds mean a lot because that's muscle. That's also the way this guy rushes. Like, TJ is a go-harder, and so is Cam is too, which is why we've also been having that conversation around Cam's, amount of plays that he's playing. But when you're spent. Like, that was the opportunity to try to bury Cleveland, and you missed your shot. I think it's more than that, DK. This was our opportunity to bury this team, and we let them live, and you let them off the hook, and more times than not.
Dan Moore got smoked right off the bat. First snap. That's just not showing up to play, right, Moan? Or
that's not being ready. That's also listening to us. we said all of those things.
Oh, yeah, right.
Remember, we said, let's be calm about this, because at some point, Myles Garrett is that good. He can create and do whatever he wants to. Now, if I was Myles Garrett and I hear how Dan Moore has my number and everybody's saying this about, hey, you can't get home and TJ is a better player when that series is what it is, my hat's on fire, DK. There's no other way around it. Dan Moore met his match. But again, whenever you play with fire, you might get burned sometimes, DK.
There's so much badness to take from this. In fact, I mean, we're not even like we could get through 100 things and still not get to Presley Harvin in the 20-yard punts. Okay, but there's still so much right now that just has to take place off the field, isn't there, Moan? Let's go to that, because when Najee makes his remarks, what has to happen? What's happening? Not Tuesday, not on Wednesday, but what's happening right now on Monday when that happens? Because it's happened with you guys. You had a certain 84 there, and
we have. So here's the thing too about Najee and the situation that he is. Again, I said before, a lot of people feel like Najee. I'm sure nobody's just ever had the cojones to kind of say what Najee's capable of saying. Whether his production is up and down offensively, he's one of those team leaders. So when you lose like this and you got the outlook that you have on the season right now with a quarterback play, there we go right there, Gina, right? Kenny Pickett has only thrown 13 touchdown passes in 22 games. Well, guess what? Najee's probably the other conversation, and with other wide receivers and running backs were saying, well, where in the heck are the balls going there? Because I don't get them, when you look at his production. So there's probably little powwow meetings that are happening, because this happened with us, to where you say certain stuff to one another and you start to look at certain people on your team. Maybe the offensive coordinator. Maybe there's other people that's not holding up their end of it, DK, and those voices get a little bit louder. But I'll tell you this, nobody's probably going back at what Najee had to say. They probably patting him on his back and probably saying, finally, somebody else or somebody said it out loud. So when you mentioned how it was for us with AB or anybody else that had bad issues with the offense, here's the thing. It's only so much you can hide. And eventually it's got to get addressed. If the players kept quiet about not changing offensive coordinators or the type of plays that are being called, you're past that point now, because what does Coach always emphasize, DK? November and December football. If you can't compete and win the line of scrimmage now, which they're not, then you got to find answers.
On a related subject here, Bark Z says, hey, Moan, during your time, did you guys ever have a coming to Jesus meeting with both the players and the coaches where everyone could just voice their opinions with no repercussions?
See, here's the difference, though. When we had our issues, we knew exactly what they were. And we had guys that either had to step up and play better or not. I don't know if it was ever coaching related. Like there was times where you can have inputs on what you like and don't like to run, but it was never like, hey, coaching related. It was, hey, players got to kind of step up a little bit. Did we ever have those coming to Jesus meetings? Yeah, we did, but it was small item things that had to be taken care of, like guys being late and being distractions or in-house stuff that was going on. It was never a situation to where the play was actually a part of it. Like it wasn't this. It was more small item things. I actually think this is macro level stuff, DK. We know the biggest issue that this team has. It's two of them, and we're going to be honest. It's two glaring issues, DK. Matt Canada, Kenny Pickett.
That is correct.
Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm not. And there's no reason, and there's never a reason to rank these things. People all the time are like, who's the number one problem? Who cares who's the number one, who's the two, and who's the three, who's the four, and who's the five? Because you're going to have to solve all five of them at some point. So what's the difference how you rank them, unless you're just making lists for fun? George says something incorrect here. He says Chooks spoke up like Najee and got benched. That is not accurate. Chooks did not speak up against his coaches. Chooks did not criticize the coaches. Chooks did not criticize Matt Canada or the play calling. Chooks made a mistake at the end of the game and wanted to basically just shut it down. Let's kneel it out. Okay, that's got nothing to do. I don't know why this keeps getting brought up like this. It's just not accurate. Brian Jonker, one of these many people in a bad mood. Is there a special section of the playbook for incompletes? If so, Brian, they brought out their best yesterday. Holy hell. I mean, you've never seen incomplete passes like this. You know? I mean, it was
so bad.
Miscommunications all over the place. Deontay Johnson, one of the league's elite route runners, is running a route, and the next thing you know, the ball is 30 yards over his head. Moan, how does that happen? Come on. How does that happen in the third week of November? There's something going wrong.
DK, it could be miscommunication. It could be reading the wrong defense. DK, let's go ahead and throw this in there. Coaching, being on the same page, knowing what everybody's supposed to be doing, as a unit, as one. We don't get that often. The times we do, this team looks good and flawless, DK. And here's the thing too, DK. Checking me out right here. Tyler Johnson brings up a good point or a good moment, right? He goes, "Hey, Moan, what is Najee referring to about the air quotation mark stuff that reporters don't see?" See. Yeah. So that's where we are when DK is asking the question. You know what happens when the miscommunication like this happens, like where Deontay is stopped and the ball is 30 yards over his head. That's coaching. That's communication. That's maybe one guy doesn't know how to read an NFL defense or thought something. Again, I said last week, you're not paid to think, you're paid to play. You're paid to react. You're paid to go make plays. Like, that's what this game is all about. If you're thinking, you're losing. If you're thinking, you're slow. Like, so Najee bringing up that type of stuff, what don't people know? So here's the thing behind that type of quote right there. You don't know if players have issues with coaches. You don't know if players don't understand the playbook. You don't understand it. You don't know if players don't agree with the playbook. You don't know if coaches actually craft a game plan and don't include everybody in on it. Like, those are the things that happen behind the scenes that you don't necessarily know, and the players can't publicly say it. So when Najee brings up there's stuff, air quotation marks, that reporters don't know, it's a multitude of things. We don't know if there's guys causing issues or showing up late. Because you don't, again, Pittsburgh's been known as a keep everything in-house franchise. And you guys, including myself, you guys have loved that about Pittsburgh. Hey, keep everything inside. When Bradshaw say something rogue, right? Guess what? Pittsburgh business is Pittsburgh business. When there was grumblings about our era, when people were talking about AB, Le'Veon, O-line, and Ben, and everybody else, keep everything in-house. So when Najee brings that up, that ought to tell you what level of frustration that group has when it comes down to trying to keep it together. And it's got to be rough because you can't lose to the third-string quarterback and only score 10 points on top of that.
When we come back, we will be getting into a very spirited, and I've been collecting some questions here off to the side, a very spirited edition of the Hey Moan segment. Oh, I'm sorry. We're not on our game either. Look at us, you in the van.
You're frustrated like me too.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to lie here. I had a rough day yesterday. It had nothing to do with the football team. I didn't travel particularly well. I made all kinds of mistakes, all kinds of whatever. And it was one of those where you ever have one where absolutely everything goes wrong?
You know what I'm doing?
Huh?
Playing the world's smallest violin, DK. Those are first world problems, man. Get out of here with that.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. coverage that connects.
Yeah, okay. I wasn't expecting much sympathy there, but there it is here. Rico says, "Do not let our defense off the hook. Unacceptable. Be serious." I'm sorry. We love everyone who watches the show, but Cleveland barely budged the ball in the second half.
did.
Okay,
96 yards rushing.
You don't put your defense back on the field when you have the ball. Moan, was you as an offense, and I understand you had the Hall of Fame quarterback and other immense talent out there and all that, but you take that ball at your 30-yard line. You got to move 30 to 35 yards to get into Chris Boswell's kicking range. Go finish the job.
Go finish the job, DK. And I don't care what level you're at. Heck, I've coached flag football and known we had to milk the clock, DK. And guess what? We got to go milk the clock. You can't allow your defense back out there on the field as many plays as they played and how they played, too. Cleveland has a solid kick after they fired their fourth-round draft pick. You just can't allow that. That in itself is an offensive problem to me, DK.
Yeah, Kia brings up here, why no Jalen Warren on the last possession? Because that was really stupid. Okay, why did they throw 3 straight times? Because that was really stupid. Why did they only take 14 seconds? 14 seconds off the clock. Because that was really stupid. There's not much to the. If you guys think you're going to get answers to decisions that were stupid here, you're not, because stupid just means stupid, and that's what that was.
There's no other way around stupidity. It's not smart. That's one of those conversations where you say you got out-coached, and you did. You did, DK. They got out-coached on Sunday, man. Here's the other thing, too. If you look at the game in general, DK, now hear me out on this. You let me know if I'm wrong. But if you look at what Pittsburgh's done, and if you look at what the offensive line has said, namely Broderick Jones, again, I'm glad we didn't talk too much about him saying the 200 yards. Your longest plays were on the ground, DK. Your longest passing play of the day was 14 yards. Your biggest play of the day was 70-plus from Jalen Warren. DK, I'm going to allow you to run all friggin' day if you want to, just so I know I can stop you when I need to or when it gets to the tight red zone. And if you can't move the ball through the air, dude, the same way that Cleveland couldn't, then you really got nothing. Your longest plays, I feel like almost the last 3 weeks have actually been on the ground. That's a hard way to live. That's a bad way of scheming up an offense for a team, DK. It's low. And you know what? It's all fine and dandy when you winning because, again, you can put makeup on a win or on your bad plays. You can't do that when you lose, and that's why the frustration is so high right now. You probably hear it in me, and I need to bring it back a little bit, DK.
Well, frustration can also turn into taking things that were said and then making more of them, and let's be careful about that. Clay says that Mike Tomlin saying Jalen didn't deserve more carries. What a crock. He didn't say anything of the kind, Clay, at all. Okay, what he said was that he stands by the decision. That's very, very different than anything remotely resembling a criticism of the guy who was averaging 14.3 yards per carry. They just blew it. Okay.
I just want to know where Clay got that quote at for you to bring it to us like that.
That's the internet, man. It goes from one to the next, and then there you have a whole bunch of these aggregators, which is something Ryan Lytle was referring to earlier when he was mentioning the Chooks thing. They take them and they just extrapolate them, and then one sentence gets something wrong. You know, you should always, I'm not going to get started on media stuff here, try to find the very first place that you can where something was reported and go with that instead of the 900 interpretations that'll follow here. Nobody's punching Matt Canada. I don't think that'll happen. But if it was going to be somebody, my money would be on Chris Boswell.
He don't hold back. Boz does not hold back, man. Oh, my.
You know, Autumn comes in and says the Steelers need to get rid of Matt Canada. It's like Kenny has lost confidence. What happened to second half Kenny that played with confidence last year? You know, I'm tired of the whole cause and effect thing, okay? Because when you throw a football 30 yards over your wide receiver's head, that's really not that much on the coordinator. It means that somebody was just miles off, okay?
Yeah.
Either in terms of their preparation or their nerves or what. I have no idea. But when that stuff happens, man, that is ugly. Dave says, "Hey, Moan, have you been part of a locker room that clearly didn't believe in the coaching or certain other players? How do guys play differently when the answer is yes?"
Yeah, I have. What happens with those coaches? They get fired. What happens to those players? They get cut. You can't hide your deficiencies, Dave, for too long when it comes down to what the NFL presents you with. Again, we're all in the holding tank with off-season decisions right now. The good thing for you is this: you're still in the playoff hunt. The bad thing for you is this: you're still in the playoff hunt. It's hard to make those types of changes, DK. Tell me I'm wrong when you have those type of moments right there. That's your gift and your curses. You're in the playoff hunt, and your curse is you're in the playoff hunt. Who fires a coach right now is my only question for you. Not saying that you shouldn't. As a player,
well, Buffalo just did it.
You know,
we're kind of losing Moan here on some digitization. The connection is getting a little bit rough there, but Buffalo just fired their coordinator, and it's starting to look a little bit, like, I don't know. I honestly, I believe like there's a part of this process where you could still bring in, I don't know, or promote from within or something. Whatever the case is, this isn't it. This isn't the answer. How about now, Moan? You buffering
he
still?
Is or no? Yeah, I'm back.
All right, cool. Here's the question of the day. Chris says, why did Jaylen Warren only have 12 touches, 9 carries for 129 yards and 3 catches, including a 14-yarder out of those catches? Why? Why did that happen?
Flow of the game, honestly, looking at the play selection in general, Cleveland had 73 and Pittsburgh had 57. It just wasn't enough plays to go around for what you were trying to do. Passing had to be a part of it, and at some point, Cleveland was stopping the run. That's just simply what it is. You bust a 74-yarder, the defense is going to be adamant as hell to never let you do that again. He became target number 1 for that Cleveland Browns defense. That's just how the flow of the game goes.
Jonah says here, hey, Moan, what are your thoughts about what Najee said? I don't know him, but he appears to be a reserved guy. So for him to say what he said seems ominous. Also, Mike Tomlin's demeanor after the game was disturbing. We've been over the Tomlin thing. How do you feel as a teammate when you hear, your star running back say something like that, or whoever?
With where this group is, I feel good about it. Finally, somebody said something. Me and you can talk about it all day and talk about all the problems, but until they start feeling the pressure of the guys that's going to be there, and more times than not just going to outlast his position coach, or depending on how other coaches go, that's always going to be the play if Najee continues to compete. And the fact that he has had a good bit of production and it goes down, he deserved to voice those type of opinions. I got no problems whatsoever with it.
We have new members coming in. I've been putting them up on the board here. If you'd like to become one of those, you can either go ahead and get one yourself at dkps.net/join, or you could also take one of the gazillion gift memberships that Jay Freeman Blackman has put in. Here's a 20. Here's another 20. And just to show that he's consistent, unlike the Steelers, here's another 20. So, oh, wait. He's not consistent at all. He brought in the 50. So I take all the good things back. Jay Freeman is lacking consistency to his game. That's seriously appreciated. If you want to accept one of those gifts, make sure that in the super chat that you have accept gifts turned on. And remember, you can't do it if you've already got one, because duh. And you can only do it twice. In other words, there's only 2 months that you can do that, and after that you have to go and get your own. Those aren't our rules. Those are YouTube's rules. Donnan says, is it time to bench Kenny to save this season? What do you say, Moan?
If it's truly him, yeah. If it's truly him, if there's a better pathway to winning games, yeah. They're not owed to Kenny. They're not beholden to him at all when it comes down to his future. This either you do or you don't league. And right now, Kenny doesn't. It's bleak. It really is. He almost looked like he's seeing ghosts like Sam Darnold did. Like, I don't know where those overthrows, underthrows, sideline passes, decision-making, DK. Again, can we blame Matt Canada? Can we blame Kenny? Can we blame the quarterback coach?
Yes, all of them.
So, yeah, the answer is yeah. You should. I'm almost with Daniel. Daniel, thanks for the contribution. Goes hashtag give Mason Rudolph a chance. I hear you.
Ramon has been, and this goes back to his playing days and their mutual playing days. You've been a Mason Rudolph supporter and a believer. He's a guy that when you're in the huddle with him, according to you guys, he exudes confidence. He's got the big arm. He's got issues, but they've never been this grave. Okay.
No.
And one of the things about Mason, and again, I don't want to sound like a fool here, okay, because you can do that very easily in these situations and start talking about your third string quarterback as if he should be your first stringer when nobody in the NFL even wanted him to be the number 2. However, you've never seen a real crisis in confidence from him. He was thrown to the wolves in 2019. It was tough for all of you guys because the way it happened. But his reads, the things that he misses on are the short, the easy plays. Why is that, Moan? That's the only thing that's kept Mason from starting in this league.
It is. Why is that the case on the short intermediate stuff? Just lack of touch or reps, maybe. That should be a routine play from a seasoned quarterback, though. So I don't want to make that big of an excuse for Mason. That's who is that? Bayard, however you say your name. That's Bayard, A.D., however you say it. But either way, say who performed worse, Kenny this year or Mason in 2019? I'd almost like to go Kenny this year. Just because we've seen zero level of just advancement in his play. At least with Mason, he had some plays that came his way. Mason had like a bad hit, like it was almost justified. Now, again, DK, your point is very freaking valid. Nobody even wanted Mason to be their number 2 this year. But here's the other side of what I'm thinking. We're watching guys finally get an opportunity, like I see people dropping his name in, Josh Dobbs. Like, sometimes it takes you a little bit more time to grow. I don't know if that's the case for Mason. If Kenny doesn't show much improvement, this team start to skid, would I be opposed to putting Mason in? No, I wouldn't be opposed to it. What's the worst you can do from a veteran guy that should have a little bit more poise to what he got going on? If Mason could temper that drive to wanting to be a hero, DK, maybe that's why. Then I feel better about him.
What's amazing, Moan, is I've noticed that in the last 24 hours, and we're almost exactly 24 hours from when that game ended yesterday, that there's a lot of people bringing up Mason. Nobody brings up Mitch. It's like Mitch doesn't even exist anymore. Remember that when Kenny got something in his eye on that sneak, it was Mitch who was sent onto the field, okay? Mason has been listed as the emergency guy. So if Kenny were to get benched, this fantasy that everyone's got that Mason is going to be the guy just because they don't like the last bad thing they saw from Mitch, which was throwing into triple coverage for Allen Robinson, that is just wishful thinking, okay? It's not going to happen.
To be fair, DK, I mean, you got to go with what he's giving you, man. That was some bad cleanup duty from Mitch Trubisky. I've even had some people joke with me, and this is me and my friends joking like, hey, is Chicago Mitch turning into Kenny Pickett? I don't know, DK. But, hey, we got to figure out who's going to be the lead dog in that room.
AJ asks, as bad as their play has been at times, the offense, shouldn't they get the benefit of the doubt until Matt Canada is gone? Is that really how it works, Moan? Do you just kind of keep trying things and experimenting with stuff, or do you just say at some point, listen, this thing is bad, and this thing is bad, so I want all 3 of them out of the equation? Why not just do that? Why do you have to pick one?
AJ, here's the thing, though, too. when it's that bad and you lose the way you lost yesterday, that's what amplifies it. Again, football has us all emotional because we got to sit on wins and losses for a year. For a week, right? That's what makes it so bad. To say you got to wait on Matt Canada, that's fair. But it's also of the idea, like, what's our method of winning? Like, I don't know if we made any progress offensively this year. What concepts has this team built off of, DK?
The concept where Jaylen Warren exists. That's it. That's the concept.
But here's the thing behind that. It's only a certain amount of time before teams really hone in on what Jaylen Warren's capable of. Yeah. And if that gets shut down, what have we built off of? We knew 22 double could set up gap scheme. We knew it could set up counter. We knew it could set up play action. We knew it was a part of our no huddle. There has been zero advancement of this offense. And I'm excusing the defense, I am. Because I've been in a situation to where one side got to carry the load, you leave that other side alone. Just because the reason they're in that position is because how bad the other side of the ball is.
Clay comes in explaining that he wasn't trying to sound misinformed about Tomlin's comments on Jalen's carries. Clay, this isn't on you, man. This is the way the internet works right now. That you have all these aggregators, and everybody tries to get page views off of other people's work. Yep. Okay, there's only a handful of us that are actually in that locker room. They take every little morsel of everything that we have and sponge off of it. What ends up happening, you invariably have people writing their own interpretations of it, and that's what ends up going wrong, which is why I'm always advising, figure out who's actually there, okay? And that includes the national writers. Figure out who's actually there. Go ahead, Moan.
I was just about to say the same thing. I've run into national people with my travel with the Titans, and the national folks, DK, as far as the inside of what's happening in certain cities, in Nashville and in Pittsburgh, like where I know more, they don't have a clue.
Now, Ben Roethlisberger once told me, actually asked me, he called me over to his stall like this, and he goes, this report about something, I'm not going to get into what it was, okay? But he goes, what is this? Because this isn't true, and who is this? And I said, well, it's some national guy, whatever, at I don't even remember where he was at the time. I just gave away that it was a he, so there's your big hint. And I said, well, Ben goes, have you ever seen him here? And I go, no. Have you ever seen him in any locker room? And I go, no. And he goes, well, why would anybody read this and take it seriously? And I go, you got me, Ben. Sorry. Sorry. You know, Mark Lancaster says, how do you ignore the hot hand in Jaylen Warren on the final two drives? How ignorant coaches. 2 12-man timeouts. Okay, you're getting into something else. They did have 2 sets of 12 men here. Yeah. But, yeah, the Jaylen thing is bad. Here's one for you. Okay, AJ asks, I'm sorry, he's asking me this one. Wasn't Najee a dude who basically never spoke to the media? No, that's not true. Now he's airing all his laundry. Isn't the fact that he even spoke? No. What was telling was that Najee is usually one of the very last to speak. Okay. Yeah. The offensive linemen are always ready right away. This hasn't changed, Moan. Okay. You work your way around the room. There's certain guys who prefer to shower and be completely dressed beforehand. You have some like Minka who are right away.
Yeah.
Cam is right away. Well, Najee is dead last. Okay. And there are times when not everybody feels like hanging around for Najee. Okay. So that's what you have here. It was not out of character. Najee did not wait yesterday. He was right away. That was what stood out. He wanted this microphone.
You know what, DK? I have to ask you this question because you're there. If they'd have won, I almost feel like we'd have still received that same conversation. Or at least I would have hoped Najee would have been able to have the same conversation. Because we've been skating by on thin ice for a little while. And it's good when it's good. We cannot deny that. We've all celebrated when you win these tight games. But the fact that Pittsburgh lost a Pittsburgh-style game yesterday, when they usually win, I would almost hope that the conversation would have come up regardless.
That's tough to do after a win, Mr. Foster. And don't say otherwise. because I never would have been able to come up to you, even if you guys had a crappy game and you won, and you start this and that about the coaching. I'm sorry.
I'd have said we won. Next question.
We won. Next question is what I've gotten out of you. Hate to do that to you, but now you're in my line of work here.
I know. That's fair. That's fair.
Hannibal says, "Hey Moan, I'm trying not to freak out. So let me ask, who owns the tiebreaker between the Browns and the Steelers now? I really need to be with friends today."
Hannibal. It's a 1-1 right now. The tie comes down to Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken.
Honestly, I don't care. This team just needs to get better. This is all a great big waste of our time worrying about standings and this other stuff. You know, Najee said it yesterday very colorfully, I might add. He goes, one way or another, this is gonna come back to bite you. Okay, this isn't gonna go away. Okay, we can sneak out a bunch of wins. We can have everybody say, yay, team, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just not okay.
Yeah.
Striper comes in and says, Kenny looked better in his first start in Buffalo last year. There's a reason for this regression. Is it coaching or injuries maybe? Why all of a sudden can't he throw now?
I almost thought, man, he was better with pressure on Kenny as far as his level of play. Buffalo last year also, first start. That's the first game of the season where nobody really knows you. That's the thing about Kenny right now. Everybody has his tape. Everybody understands what Kenny Pickett's deficiencies are, probably better than he does. And that's why I've always just kind of said, when it comes down to pros, being pros and staying in the league for a very long time, you have to understand what your weaknesses are. I don't know if Kenny knows how to play through his weaknesses while highlighting his strengths. I truly couldn't tell you right now either. What is his actual strengths? I don't know what Kenny Pickett's strengths are.
It was nice to at least see him scramble and run a couple of times. You know, he tucked the ball and took off. That was positive yardage. That also looked a little bit like Kenny from, 5-6 weeks ago. And we did mention actually on the show earlier last week that had gone missing from his game. So yeah. I guess that was at least something, you know. But there's been the term regression is fair. It really is. You know, Jonah says, fair. Hey, Moan, regardless of the outcome of this season, what would you personally like to see Pittsburgh do at the quarterback position?
There's a lot of things I'd like to see him do. And here's the other thing, though, too. I think Kenny understands what an NFL offense is supposed to look like. Hopefully he's learning the defenses, too. Depending on how he finishes this year, Jonah, man, it wouldn't shock me if they're going after a third-round guy, just to be honest with you, because if you're going to have to go cheap eventually from Mitch or Mason at some point, if you go get another young guy that's made a lot of plays, Bo Nix, I don't know how high Bo Nix is going to go in the draft. But if you got a position to where you feel, or you're drafting at a spot to where you think it's a luxury, do you do that? Because I'm giving you a bunch of hypotheticals. That's just simply what it is. But if Kenny doesn't show progress, that fifth-year option is going to be hard to justify picking up.
Oh, I don't know that we're going to be waiting till a fifth-year option to be making this call. I mean, you can't survive this level of quarterbacking. You just can't. You're not going to say, let's see 2 more years of this and see what we've got in this guy.
And you know? the O-line has to grow up. I'm with that. They got to figure out what it is. All of those types of things. But you can't go without fault. A lot of this fan base was hard on Ben when it came down to him playing bad or making bad decisions in games and stuff. The same got to be done to a young guy. Y'all don't owe him anything. There's been no championships won under him. There's been good moments, but there's also been good moments with Mason, heck, with Landry Jones, heck, with Byron Leftwich. I mean, Charlie Batch had good moments in Pittsburgh. You're looking for a franchise guy. It's that simple.
Alex Flores has a hey Moan that only you can read, Moan. All caps. Here we go.
Alex goes, hey Moan, did the Steelers lose a Steelers kind of way? Where the defense balls out and the offense just enough, and that's why it sucks. That got Mike Tomlin. Can we rewind? Don't we have a producer that can rewind that back? Alex, sorry if you late to the party, man. You got to get here on time. When DK opened up the show and you said Coach Tomlin press conference, he walked in and he just looked a little different. Verbatim, everything that you said, Alex, was exactly as I said earlier. This team got dragged to the deep end the way Pittsburgh dragged other teams to the deep end. They ran the ball, they played keep away, and they closed out games late. That defense of Cleveland did just enough to help their third string quarterback win a game against a franchise quarterback. Pittsburgh hardly ever loses those types of games.
Oh, boy, Eric Shulo's running a victory lap here, a Browns fan, apparently. He wants to talk about the draft. We're not ready for the draft. Evan says screen call within 8 yards from field goal range. What? It's almost as if he doesn't know what he's doing, guys. Let's stop acting surprised, okay? When you hear it and read it and see it from people who really know the sport, who've lived the sport, it's not a mistake when it keeps happening week after week after week. The biggest mistake, though, continues to be employing him, plain and simple. That's it. And at this point, I don't know that I blame Kenny for their performance, for his performance, or Matt Canada for his, or even Mike Tomlin, because at this point, there's only one place where the buck stops. Okay, these calls, they don't have to be made by Art Rooney, but they at least have to involve him. And for nothing to have occurred this entire season related to this offense, other than, what was it? We're going to have a physical practice this week and something else. I forgot what the other one was. Oh, bringing Canada down to the sideline. That was going to be magic. Okay, that's what you got. That's the only actions that have been taken so far.
I remember when physical practices, when that announcements was actually what got us to reset and play harder. All right, let's go back to the drawing board. For this team right now, and they're still above 500 with a winning record and in the playoffs that so far, this team I don't think is at that spot. It's not.
No, this team, I mean, it would be a lot like the year where Ben sneaked into the playoffs in final year, and hey, we're going to Kansas City, yay, everybody! And then everyone knew what was waiting for them in Kansas City. You could even see here, you could feel it in the locker room. They knew what was going to happen in Kansas City, but the fact that they were in was all just bonus territory. Way to go! We got a great send off for Ben.
No
Chris
doubt.
says
That's bad. Okay.
George Pickens goes off while Deontay Johnson is out. Johnson's back. Pickens disappears. Running game emerges and passing game disappears. What are we doing? Passing should have gotten easier. Yes.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yes.
It's a lot of truth. So Chris, when you say that, imagine the players inside of that locker room that actually know offenses and defenses and the schemes. That's why you have a guy like Najee speaking out, and others too, that finally get an opportunity to say things like this. Like, it's supposed to be easier. When AB went out with us, the game got harder. When AB came back, it got easier. You know what I'm saying? Like, when Heath was out, the game got harder for us. When Heath came back, it was easier. Deontay coming back has kind of made this offense almost stagnant. Not saying it's because of Deontay. It's because you probably don't have a guy to know how to manage these personalities. And I'll say this too. You have a young quarterback that probably doesn't know who you want to make his guy. Remember we said that, DK, back in the summer? Kenny's got to get to a point to where he let him hang and say, you're my guy.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm going to you when I need something. Kenny doesn't have that mentality yet to make that type of call. You remember how guys used to get mad at Ben when they wouldn't get the ball? And Ben would continue to feed AB. Ben would continue to feed Heath, Plexico, Hines. Like, he had a guy. He had dudes that said, that's my guy. Kenny has yet to make that delegation on who his go-to guy is going to be.
Well, it sure isn't Deontay Johnson, who is one of the top 3 receivers once in the first half. Once. And he was targeted, of course, off to the sideline, nothing at all through the middle. The entire thing is just a joke. I'm sorry. The more we go on this, the more it feels like we're wasting everybody's time.
Man.
That's just where it is. You want to know who's got the comment of the day? And I'm not just saying this because of her usual massive contribution. Rochelle with a great big sigh, like a Charlie Brown-sized sigh. That's what this team is right now. That's what this offense is. I should be clear. Okay, but then you've got a couple of 20-yard punts too. So
that's not. It's almost as soon as you give him some sugar, like it messes up, does it not, DK? Like essentially, that's what happens. It's like a kid with candy at a party, right, DK? As soon as they come home, they crash. Like that's exactly what Presley do. And Presley's had a streak of some good games, and somehow succumbed to just being regular again, DK.
Mm-hmm.
Rochelle, appreciate you, man. Golly, thank you.
Well, yeah, she wasn't done. She also just had to throw in 50 gift memberships too, so that we can keep building up our. Hey, wait a second. What is that up there? Are we at a 1,205 on that screen?
We were higher than that. We were over 1,200, DK.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I said.
Yeah. Hey,
wow.
TJ, you're right. Rochelle got that dog in her. DK, spell it correctly.
She definitely does. She's definitely got that in her.
I got a good question that came in, man, from Bart Z. I'm not sure if I want to address it now after the break.
I saw it. Now let's do this because Ryan Lytle's got something to share with us after the break.
Man, Bart Z says, "Hey, Moan, with the way the league has evolved, is it time to move on from a defensive-minded head coach considering the success of Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Mike McDaniels?" That's going to be the topic of conversation for a lot of different teams across the league, man. Here's my input on that. Our franchise has strategically gone defense. Defense wins championships. I don't think that DNA is ever going to leave. I think having a defensive-minded head coach that knows how to elect a very competent offensive coordinator can also be problematic, because here's the thing. If your OC is real good, he's about to go be a head coach. So the method on how you hire, what type of play you're looking for, I almost feel like this. Defense is always going to be at the forefront of what Pittsburgh does. Also, you're looking at what Pittsburgh wants to do, and I think this is from the ownership on down. They want to run the ball and play real good defense. Opening up the offense comes down to, truthfully, I hate to even say this, playing trial and error with a guy like Matt Canada, hoping he learns on the job, hoping he does good enough to help you sustain a winning culture. If you can do those things, nobody's going to ever want to hire Matt Canada, particularly as a head coach. But you keep him because he's your in-house guy that you know is good enough to help you win. What sucks right now is he's not good enough to call offensive plays to help you win. So the question of going after an offensive head coach, you can, but how far is that going to set you back? What's the defense going to be capable of doing? These is hypotheticals, but I ain't really got a true answer for you other than the fact that it's going to be the same carousel of trying to find that next guy if the offensive head coach don't work out.
Yeah, TJ gets the final word on that subject, says we're employing a 90s to early 2000s mindset and strategy in a different era of football. They have to change with the times. Moan, that's all we got for today, right? That's about it?
We might do something after the show, DK. I mean, there's always bonus material.
Yeah, everyone's in kind of that state. Somehow we still have our group is still sticking together. You notice that?
They are. This is must watch TV, DK, is what we are, man.
Yeah, I mean the number of people that we've had, the contributions, the gifts, the people who coming in ice cold as members. A lot of new members today as well here. Ryan Lytle says he's watching from Florida today. He says, I'm not giving up on this team. Everyone can see there are issues, and it may have to get worse in order to get better. I have faith it will get better. Happy Turkey Week. Ryan, we love you and your positivity, but I have faith it will get better is going to have to be backed by some real moves and real changes. It just is.
Yeah. I had somebody ask earlier where some people are already looking towards the draft because this group does have some holes missing. Actually, I saw him say, "Go Dogs." Georgia beat my Vols this weekend. Is there anybody on that Georgia team that can help the Steelers? The answer is yeah. Look what Philly's done with all those Georgia players that they have. But you also have to be drafting at a position at a need that you know you're going to be able to use one of their dynamic players. Heck, I don't care if the guy come from Penn State, Ohio State, Tennessee, or USC. As long as he plays Steeler-style ball, I'm with it. Ryan Lytle's right. It could get worse, DK. That's part of this process, too. These 6 games aren't guaranteed to be, more stacked on top of it if they can't get it together. I wouldn't fear this Pittsburgh team other than what the defense can present. That's just honest. I wouldn't fear this team. And it looked like with a third-string quarterback, Cleveland didn't either.
No, I didn't sense a whole lot of fear anywhere in that venue or that environment or whatever it is that the coach wanted to look at. I think we're really reaching the point here where Fire Canada's going to just take off. I mean, I saw there's some students at Carnegie Mellon University out in Oakland that put up a giant sign on campus. It's not like a little paper thing. It's a permanent thing. That's Fire Canada. Yeah, I saw that for the first time today. We have on Wednesday night one of the more significant holiday traditions from a sports fan standpoint here is when Penguins play on Thanksgiving Eve. The NHL has always given the Penguins the Thanksgiving Eve game at home out of respect to Pittsburgh's tradition. And those are fans who come home and are fired up, and it's a loud, raucous crowd. And it's going to be the New York Rangers in the house. And I guarantee you we're going to have some Fire Canada coming out of that group. Okay. This is a bad situation. And for the coach to just keep trying to bury his head in the sand and pretend that it doesn't exist or pretend that we're just annoying reporters asking annoying questions. Well, that's not pretending. That's true. It's something's going to have to happen. Something's going to have to happen. If you go into Cincinnati and lose to another backup quarterback, I can't.
No excuses. No excuses. I see a bunch of folks asking about Miles Jack. I'll just say this of Miles Jack, who retired early this year. Think they signed him. Make a play. Then we'll assess it. That's all I'm looking for from anybody on this team. Hey, go score for the offense as far as I'm concerned, DK.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, we'll be back in our usual spots tomorrow, both of us. And thanks for putting up with us at the beginning there and everything else here. This was a good show.
It was.
Especially under the circumstances. One thing I hope people will appreciate is that we'll always call it like it is, right?
Got to, DK. If not, because we can't be like those national guys.
No. They suck. See you tomorrow, everybody.
Tomorrow, good people.